Hey guys, this video is gonna be a little different. It's gonna be a little more raw, not as much videography and overlay things as normal, but I'm gonna tell you about why I left my full-time ministry job to go out and work on my own. So my background is in ministry. I grew up in the church, and as a teen, I was very involved, was in the worship band. I was a leader for the younger teens. And as I got older, I went to college for it. So now I have a bachelor's and a master's in ministry. And I got my first full-time job in youth ministry at a church up in Wisconsin. And now the parts about ministry that I love, especially youth ministry, is just the teens' excitement for life and their willingness to question things. So I just love that they have so much energy, both mentally and physically. They're a lot of fun just to hang out with. They're willing to do crazy, stupid things. And it's fun to do it with them and help them learn what it looks like to fail and overcome those failures. But I also just love that their minds are so curious and they're asking questions and they're really challenging what they believe in that moment. And it's great to be able to help them to find those answers for themselves. And youth ministry is just great too because it's an excuse to get paid for going on missions trips, going on summer camp trips, taking kids to ice cream, taking them to laser tag and going with them and doing all those fun things. But part of why I left the church is I realized the parts of what I enjoyed of youth ministry I could do while not working in the church. I could do them as a volunteer part-time and still enjoy it just as much, but be able to live more of the life that I want to live, including the ability to travel more and not be tied down to a location or someone else's timetable, and I can increase my financial status. So those two aspects of being able to increase my financial means by getting a job that pays better in another industry or going out and working on my own like I am now really helps me be able to live a more exciting life in terms of traveling all the time, which is expensive. So being able to do that, having the financial means to do that, and you can make a decent living in ministry enough to provide for your family, but you're not going to be doing any crazy cool safari trips in Africa or traveling around Europe for 4 months. And part of this too was that idea of being locked into a location. And now the local church is good because it's a constant source of that encouragement and the word of God. But for me, I felt like my calling was more so to be out and be going and making disciples just like Jesus and the disciples did. They were never locked into a location, always traveling and making their means as they went with jobs outside of vocational ministry. So I felt like for me, this was more of my calling, especially after reading Francis Chan's book, Letters to the Church, which kind of talks about this same idea. And the way their church works is smaller groups that they all meet once a month for a large group meeting, and they don't have any pastors that are salaried. They have a few expenses here and there, but most of their giving is going toward the actual community through programs and giving to officers and firefighters and things like that. So this really was a turning point for me in how I saw my role within the church. Long term, my wife and I also just didn't see a fit within the local church we were in. It being my first job, you kind of have to take what you're gonna take and you have to learn along the way what you do and don't like. So even if I would have stayed in vocational ministry full time, we probably would have eventually left that church in another year or two prior to when we left. Now that I've left ministry, it's been a lot more fulfilling to be able to do what I want to do with my time rather than being locked into a building and a location and someone else's timetable. And while I enjoyed building those relationships with that small community, my personality as an extrovert just loves being able to connect with people all around the world from different cultures and backgrounds and philosophies and religions to be able to help inform me as a Christian how to engage them. As a coach now, focusing on interpersonal skills and helping people connect with themselves and others I really get that opportunity to live out my calling and be a light for Christ in every conversation I have, making it an intention to pray for them as I have conversations throughout my day with clients or just other business owners I'm connecting with. So, if you are questioning whether or not ministry is the right calling for you, whether you've been in it for a year, 20 years, please reach out to me about what that looks like for you. I'd love to help give you more info on my thought process and kind of how that's been for me. And for me, I haven't regretted it 1 ounce, other than sometimes having a stable job that I know income is there. But other than that, it's provided me a lot more of the freedom in my life that I wanted and allowed me to really exercise my gifts in the way that I know God has called me to. And now God may call me back into ministry full time or part time sometime down the road. But for right now, this is what God's called me to. And again, if you have questions, want to talk it through, please reach out to me. And also, please like and subscribe so I know you're following along. And it tells YouTube what you want to watch, so it'll show you more of that sort of content. I hope you have a good day. And remember, you are made to create beautiful things.